flooding has a multi-level stakeholder that must take action, from the federal to state to local government, and also the communities and to the household, and most important, individuals. If an individual drops a plastic, you would think it's just one plastic. No, there are millions of individuals dropping plastics on the street. These plastics find their way to the drains. When they get to the drains, they will block the drains. And when they block the drains, water will find its level. Water will just go where it needs to exit. And that exit might just be your house.
There's an increased intensity in rainfall that is affecting our area like many other places in England today, and in parts of the northeast of the United States. You have excessive heat. And that is really a lot of people are passing out, dying on the streets because of the heat that they're feeling they've never felt in London.
So it's to just ensure that we drain our neighborhoods properly, we clean our gutters, and then we ensure that there is linkage between all the major canals. And I'm sure flooding will be a thing of the past.
It means that the problem of flood is man-made. Aside from the global warming, the climate change, which is global, right? But what are we doing as individuals, as citizens in response? We are not conscious, we are not sensitive enough about the environment. It is what we put in it that we are going to get. So if we are safety conscious, we are conscious about what happened or what happens in the environment, you realize that the flood we are experiencing in Lagos may not be this much.
Government has to educate people, and it's no longer a time for blames, it's a time for solutions. So in some parts, you're going to have to use artificial means, pumping, to get the water to flow. But that's one. On the citizen side, we also have to take ownership. The way we build, the way we discard our refuse, the way we even manage our environment. If you clutter the drains, it's not going to flow. And if it flows, unfortunately for you, it's going to flow to where your exit point is going to be and block it. So it's common sense. If I throw a piece of paper on the floor, that piece of paper is not going to stay on that floor. When the rain comes, it's going to carry it to the drain. When it enters the drain, it's going to go to where the exit point is, going to block it. And then when the flood happens, where is it coming back to? My own house. So I can't blame government exclusively. I can push government and insist that government should do its job. Open up the canals, keep them clean, ensure that where they're distilling it is distilled.
Government is the one that have to put them through by disciplining them, by taking a lot of law, because many flooding caused by people dropping refuge in canals, in drainage, and blocking the way. And water will always find its way. So if you cannot go in the right channel, you will find a way to enter any place, and that's why we're having flooding. So I think everything is still on the government. On my own, everything about flooding is government. For example, now, go throughout the whole Lagos state. How many places there is like a station that they have to put in all these containers for refuge in the communities? It's supposed to be at each bus stops. If you want people must have refuge. They have to drop it somewhere. Some community, the Loma people cannot enter there. You see, they are not even anywhere. We can't find them anywhere this time around. So government have to put those containers in each bus stop and entrance of streets. I mean, at least at the express road, entrance of each community should have one. That will save a lot of problem of flooding. So if people doesn't have where to put it, they have to put it somewhere. Because every day they generate refuge. And I think that's the major problem. Everything about this flooding is on government. People that build on canal. Government is the one that have the right to give approval. And this also made me to appeal to my colleagues, which are moneyless, because I'm in Lagosian, I'm from Lagos. So you want to sell land, please, let us stop selling land that is on the waterway. The problem, you will make the money today, but it's going to stop by tomorrow. So let us stop this. That's another big challenge.
Good morning and welcome to the program. I am Gabriel Jude from Lagos, Nigeria. Today, we are focusing on crisis that continues to destroy homes, livelihood, and families across Nigeria. A combination of heavy rainfall in 2026, as projected by the Nigeria Meteorological Agency, adversely affected 19 states in the first half of 2026, including Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Kogi, Benue, and Federal Capital Territory. There is also a global phenomenon as the year 2026 has witnessed flash flooding due to heavy rainfall in Ghana, Angola, United States, the United Kingdom, China, Afghanistan, and Brazil. But beyond the statistics are real people. Parents who lost children, families sleeping in schools and temporary camps, women giving birth in flooded communities, children unable to return to school, small business owners watching years of hard work disappeared overnight. Is this pure climate change or a pure drainage system, blocked waterways, weak urban planning, environmental negligence, and government failure that is making Nigeria's households more vulnerable? Most importantly, what practical steps can households take now before and the next flood disaster arrives? In this discourse, we examine flood prevention, households preparedness, and long-term environmental choices confronting Africa's most populous nation, that is Nigeria. Joining me now is environmental and disaster management expert, Mr. Nyananso Gabriel Ekanem. He is a water and sanitation thematic lead at NESG, managing consultant at Weircapacity Limited, a water, environment, and infrastructure advisory firm. You're welcome and thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's begin. Nigeria has experienced several flooding almost every year, despite repeated forecasts and warning from environmental agencies. And so, from your perspective, why does the country continue to have this quagmire, this devastating state, having the high risk of flooding among households' vulnerabilities?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think on the side of government, I know that government has the tools, the framework, the policies, the regulations in place with respect to disaster management, including flood. However, we still experience household vulnerability because we are not actually implementing most of the flood management plans we put in place. For instance, you have the federal agencies that are responsible for, surveying and forecasting. However, we don't have the subnationals taking action to ensure that, one, households are not built on floodplains, because land use is very critical to managing flood. If you build on a floodplain, your house will be flooded. Secondly, with respect to solid waste management at the state and local government, we are not putting the right mechanisms in place to manage waste effectively. Because take it or leave it, the waste will block our drainage channels. And when they block the channels, you are going to have flooding. And so flooding has a multi-level stakeholder that must take action, from the federal to state to local government, and also the communities, and to the household, and most important, individuals. If an individual drops a plastic, you would think it's just one plastic. No, there are millions of individuals dropping plastics on the street. These plastics find their way to the drains. When they get to the drains, they will block the drains. And when they block the drains, water will find its level. Water will just go where it needs to exit. And that exit might just be your house.
And now, so let me pick up from that. Could you describe primarily as climate issues and infrastructure issues, ultimately a governance issue, or maybe the negligence of citizens?
Multi-level issues. So there's climate change. Climate change is that we're having more rainfall, so too much water in some places, and in some places too little water. Because as we are experiencing too much water, there are some parts of the world that are experiencing heat and drought. So climate change is real. Yes, it's there. That's that component. But there's a component of self-regulation where we are not taking action to, one, adapt to the situation. if you start building on a floodplain where you know there will be flooding, you will have more water coming. For instance, recently we had so much rain within a very short period of time in Uyo, and Uyo got flooded. And I think this is the first time we've had this major flooding in the city of Uyo. We've not really had Uyo this bad. And so it's a clear example that there's climate change. We're having more rainfall in terms of quantity within a very short period of time. And so there's an individual component of it where you take individual responsibility of ensuring we don't clog our drains, because we have drainage system, not just on the ones on the street, but within catchments and basins across the country, we have drainage channels. And so if you build on a channel that is supposed to drain your city, you will block water flow and the water will flood the city.
More often than not, flooding has been described as something that is natural. I know. So I was in a stakeholders engagement about Coastal Road, and one of the discussants, Professor Itua, made mention that flooding in Lagos especially has been for 50 years, and so and Lagos cannot be drained. So it then means that we are looking at it in the perspective of something that is normal and is natural, but physical disruption. But then beyond that, we have health challenges, consequences, we have psychological consequences, we have economical consequences. But do you think that this broader impact receive enough national attention, looking at all these parameters and all these factors that will now then later becomes a menace to the society, and especially in case of Lagos State?
Okay. So there's this debate about Coastal Road causing the flooding, but he's correct. I used to live in Lagos in the early 2000s, and then we used to go to the bank to fill a teller or fill a check to get money. I tell you, on the island, Victoria Island, some banks we had water to knee level, but we're still filling our passbook because the ocean will come into the ocean rise will come into the city, and we had no choice. We just walked through the flood. So there's been flooding in Lagos for a very long time. However, there are other aspects that have made the situation worse. One are natural flood absorbent mechanism that are being destroyed. Watershed, okay. Water basins that are natural absorbers. They're supposed to absorb floods. So you see development going on, towards Ajah, towards Lekki, that were natural mangroves and wetlands. Those wetlands, we're losing all of them. Wetlands are natural absorbers. So when you have heavy rainfall, those wetlands absorbs them. But when we start building and, eliminating all the wetlands, water doesn't have a place to go to, and nothing absorbs that heavy rainfall. So nature has designed it in a way that when you have rainfall, that the lakes and the rivers and the watershed management systems that can absorb them. The wetlands are supposed to absorb, and we are losing all of them. So that's one. A second one is, with more people, you're increasing waste, and with more waste managed irresponsibly, you're bound to block drains. So on the discussion of Coastal Road, it's something we can debate, because if water was flowing from the ocean to the city, then Coastal Road may just be an embankment that stops that to happen. But if water was flowing from city to the ocean, then we can have channels under the road that can drain the city. So this is science. Technology has made it possible for us to design systems that can actually drain our cities. Urban planning or city planning or development planning, involves quite a lot of surveys. And it's an aspect of development we've not been focusing on. Meaning, yes, we do the planning. However, implementing those plans, regulating effectively to ensure that when the planners design land use, people will stick to the land use. For instance, the planners would have designed Lagos or Abuja and would say that this is a floodplain, you should not build here. they would have designed where residential should be. However, those approving, development come to, allow building on floodplains or streamlines. So places that are supposed to help drain the city are now being blocked by development activities. And so you will naturally have the cities flooding. So responsibility rests with government, but not just federal government. Let's take it down to the state and even local government, even to the small level of wards, because at that level is where development happens. People come to build. So if you notice, most of the areas that get severe flooding are the what you would call unplanned areas in the city. A lot of times you don't get flooding in Ikoyi, so people are still living fine in Ikoyi because it's planned. Sometimes even in Abuja, you don't get flooding in the Wuse, Gariki areas. It's well planned. However, when you go to the outskirts, where you can call either peri-urban or informal developments, that's where you get the heavy flooding, and that's where the impact is on households. And so it's important that local governments come in when developers and the urban planners have planned. Local government must be the ones to ensure that they enforce and ensure regulation is put in place, that people don't build on floodplains, because that will impact everybody, not just those in that community.
What are the simple household level interventions that could genuinely reduce risks, especially during a peak rainfall? From the VoxPopuli, you could hear one of the interviewee spoke about Omonile, in terms of not selling land where there are waterways, so places that are waterlogged areas. What could you say to this, and what are the interventions you could recommend for households that would manage and mitigate the risks?
It's very difficult. However, you can get them to be part of the solution. Part of the solution meaning, can you see what is happening? You can see the floods. It's not helping the housing market. It's not even helping the people that you sold land to. So let's come together and agree that yes, you can continue your business. However, let's have a responsible business where we know that floodplains, you cannot build on those areas. Where we know that as the city has planned, Lagos State has said, look, we have dedicated this area for green area. We've dedicated this area to maintain the wetlands. Do not sell those areas because it will come back to haunt you. Can we have a detailed, transparent, accessible information on floodplains? That means within the local government level, I can go to a local government office and know that if I build on this area, I'm on a floodplain. And when it rains, my house will be flooded. So that determines your location. Let's go to relocation. Now I'm already on a floodplain and there's flood. The next most important thing to do, which is the responsibility of government and also the responsibility of communities coming together, is early warning. Early warning means we are going to be flooded, we need to leave. No matter how we move, let's just leave. Because some of the floods have caught people unaware, meaning they are sleeping and they are flooded, and some lose their lives because they couldn't take quick action to leave. So first, early warning systems. Second, can we have the emergency authorities have enough assets that can keep people for a period of time? But that's reactive. It means we are trying to solve a bad situation. But how can we prevent it going forward? Do not build on floodplains.
So as we wind down on the discussion, looking ahead the next decades, maybe 5 to 10 years, what are the wider implications for Nigeria in flood mitigations, environmental protection, and investment in climate change? Infrastructure are not improved.
There's a video I watched recently. Someone was trying to show us before and after of floods in their area. So the guy put on the video and said, okay, watch. You see now, in the next minute, the rain don't start to watch. And he now showed us, like an hour later, the entire street was flooded. But when he was shooting the video, I told someone, pause this video. Can you see the drain? A lot of plastics the bags, the bottles, a lot in the drain. He wasn't focusing on the drain. He was focusing on the road, that you see this road will be flooded now. And he started complaining about government not doing their bit. But that drain had a lot of plastic bottles and, plastic bags. Those things clog the drain and water has nowhere to flow. I always tell people, if this is a liter and rainfall is bringing 1 liter, this cup can carry it. But if you fill this cup, half of it, with plastic or silted it with sand, when 1 liter comes, it will fill the cup with half of a liter and the rest half will be outside the cup. So that's the situation. So when you think you've thrown your own plastic bottle, you're filling this cup and not allowing enough space for this cup to carry the water that is coming. That's what causes flooding. So yes, solid waste management is critical and it can, lead to flooding.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Nyananso Gabriel Ekanem, Water and Sanitation Thematic Lead at NESG, Managing Consultant at Weircapacity Limited, for your robust insight and enlightenment on how we can manage and prevent flood in our communities, in our areas, especially for those who are already facing these menaces, these challenges. Thank you so much, and we hope that when we call upon you next time on conversation like this and some kind of conversation related to this, you would oblige. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Before I go, would like to say that take responsibility at every point in time. We have a collective effort to make in our environment. Stop dumping your refuge where it's not supposed to be, and any other misconduct, please do well to inform and do well to communicate as soon as possible as we try to mitigate this menace around our environment. Of course, we cannot stop rain from falling, but then we can stop our ill habit. Thank you so much, and that will be all for this edition of WebTV Focus program. For more knowledge on finance, the market, banking, economy, and investing, please visit the Porsche website, watch WebTV on YouTube, and follow our social media platforms displayed on the screen. Thank you everyone for watching. I am Gabriel Jude. Have a great day, and bye for now.